I still remember how naive I was at 7 years old, watching Michael Jordan fly across the TV screen in Space Jam. Back then, I knew nothing about technique or the rules of the game. I just thought he looked like a superhero straight out of a comic book. That single moment planted a strange obsession with the orange ball deep in my heart. I begged my parents to buy me a Michael Jordan. At first, they just laughed, thinking I wanted a doll or an action figure. But then they saw the dead seriousness in my eyes and gave me my first Spalding basketball. As I grew older, that love turned into a burning passion. In middle school, while my friends were obsessed with boy bands or sappy romance movies, I turned my bedroom into a shrine for Jordan. I bought every newspaper and cut out tiny pictures from magazines to cover my walls. I had a t-shirt with his face on it that was frayed at the collar because I wore it to bed every night. My goal was simple. I would practice until I was elite, become a star, and one day stand in front of my idol to say, "Thank you for helping me find my passion." During my final year of middle school, the pressure from the school team weighed heavily on me. A big game against our rivals was coming up, and I trained like there was no tomorrow. I was always the last one to leave the court, long after the janitors started grumbling about me shooting hoops instead of going home. One afternoon, while walking home exhausted after practice, I stopped dead in front of a hobby shop. In the window was a Michael Jordan poster that was almost life-sized. It captured the moment he leaned in for a dunk, muscles tensed, a picture of raw power and beauty. My heart hammered against my ribs just looking at it. The desire to own it was so strong that I completely forgot about the traffic lights and started to cross the street. A loud car horn blared right next to me, making me jump, but in that moment, the only thing in my head was that poster. Stepping inside, I was annoyed to find a long line. I stood fifth in line, my eyes locked on the last two posters remaining on the shelf. I prayed silently, "Please, don't let anyone buy it, please." Right then, a girl walked in. She looked like she stepped straight out of a movie about the Manhattan elite. Without glancing at the line, she marched straight to the counter, slammed a stack of cash down, and pointed at my poster. "I'll take this," she said. I couldn't hold it back. I yelled, "Hey, I've been standing here for an hour. You have to wait in line." She turned around, looked me up and down with total contempt, and smirked. I'm not in the habit of waiting for things I want. That sentence was like a match to a haystack. I started shouting, and the commotion drew everyone's attention. The crowd began to murmur, and a few people took my side, forcing the clerk to take the poster back from her. The girl stood frozen, her face flushing bright red from being shamed in public. Before she stormed out, she shot me a look of pure hatred. I didn't care. I was too busy holding my prize. I walked out of the store feeling like I had just won a championship. I held the rolled-up poster tight against my chest like a treasure. I stood at the crosswalk, waiting for the light to turn green. Suddenly, a hand reached from behind and ripped the poster out of my grip. Instinctively, I spun around to grab it back, but at that exact moment, a violent shove slammed into my shoulder. I stumbled and fell right into the middle of the road, directly in front of an oncoming car. In that split second, I saw the girl from the store standing on the sidewalk. She was holding my poster, and her lips curled into a sinister smile. That was the last thing I saw before the world exploded. Crash. The car sent me flying. I felt myself hover for a heartbeat before hitting the pavement hard. Before the pain could even register, another flash of light came from behind. A second car couldn't brake in time and ran directly over my legs. I heard the sound of my bones shattering under the weight of tons of steel. I didn't have time to scream. I didn't have time to feel anything else. Darkness swallowed me whole. I woke up to the sharp smell of antiseptic in the hospital. My parents were sitting there, looking 10 years older overnight. I tried to move, but something was horribly wrong. My lower body felt completely empty. No feeling, no response. The doctor told me my legs had been completely crushed. The WNBA dream, the dunks, the cheering crowds. It all died on the asphalt that afternoon. I fell into a deep hole of despair. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't even want to look at a basketball. I switched to homeschooling. I stayed locked in the room that used to be covered in Jordan posters, but now every picture felt like a knife wound. I tore them all down and ripped them to shreds. Years have passed. I still sit in this wheelchair, looking out the window. That girl was caught, but thanks to expensive lawyers and her first-time offender status, she only got probation and some community service. A pair of legs and an entire future traded for a few pages of legal documents. Michael Jordan is still a legend, but I never have the courage to watch a game anymore. I accept my life now, but I will never forget the day a dream was stolen simply because of the selfishness of a stranger. My name is Randy. I'm 30 years old now and live in Seattle. I want to tell you about a lesson I learned 12 years ago, back when I was at that age where impulsiveness always outweighs common sense. It all started after my best friend Anthony and I finished watching the movie Dawn of the Dead. In a rush of adrenaline, Anthony turned to me with his eyes lit up. $100. I bet you $100 we can survive the night in Walmart without getting caught. Anthony used to work part-time at Walmart, so he acted like a total pro. He claimed to know every camera blind spot and every gap in the security guard's schedule. The plan was simple. Sneak in right before midnight, hide inside a large wardrobe in the furniture section, and wait until the store was completely locked down. I should have shaken my head. I should have told him it was one of the worst ideas ever. But at that age, I wasn't thinking clearly. Yeah, let's do it. It was already 10:30 p.m., so we headed out immediately to get there before Walmart closed. We arrived close to 11 p.m. Anthony led me straight to the furniture department, where they had the display wardrobes. "Get in here," Anthony whispered, pulling open a wardrobe door and climbing in. "There are no cameras in this spot. Just stay quiet until the employees leave." The two of us squeezed into the cramped space, trying not to make a sound. Through a tiny crack in the door, I watched the staff clean up, check the inventory, and slowly head out. The main lights eventually dimmed. The closing chime echoed through the building, followed by total silence. After waiting about an hour, we carefully pushed the doors open. "We're good," Anthony whispered as he climbed out first. I followed him, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. Walmart at night feels massive and very eerie. The dim glow from the emergency lights cast long, flickering shadows that looked like something straight out of a horror movie. We wandered around the store for a bit. We messed around with some products and joked around, eventually making our way toward the warehouse area in the back. There was a staff-only sign hanging on the door. Anthony looked at me with a smirk. "Since we're already breaking the law, might as well go all the way, right?" He pushed the door open. Inside was a long hallway lit by a few flickering fluorescent bulbs that made the place feel even creepier. The smell of cardboard boxes piled high filled the air. Our footsteps echoed loudly on the concrete floor. As we were looking around, a sound made us jump. At first, I thought it was just a machine, but the sound was steady and rhythmic. I grabbed Anthony's sleeve and whispered, "Do you hear?" He nodded, his face turning pale. We stood frozen. As we listened closer, we realized it was the sound of footsteps. We signaled each other to keep moving. We turned a corner, and the footsteps grew louder and closer. I started to panic. I turned to my side and realized with a shock that Anthony was gone. "Anthony?" I called out softly, my heart thumping. There was no answer. I ran back the way we came and suddenly heard a groan. I rushed toward the sound, my heart feeling like it was going to leap out of my chest. I found Anthony curled up on the floor, clutching his stomach. His white t-shirt was soaked in blood. I frantically tried to help him sit up, stuttering as I asked him over and over what happened. "Run," he wheezed, looking at me. He's still here." Then he passed out. Before I could process what was happening, I heard a noise right behind me. I turned my head and came face to face with a nightmare. It was an older man, unnaturally tall and thin. His face was a web of deep wrinkles, and his eyes were dull and lifeless. In his hand, he held a wood-splitting axe. The blade was stained with brownish-red streaks that were still dripping onto the floor. "You boys shouldn't be in here," he said in a flat, emotionless tone. "I am the keeper of memories, and you just made them dirty." I didn't wait for him to say another word. I turned and sprinted as fast as I could back toward the main store. The old man didn't chase me immediately. He walked slowly, tapping his axe against the metal shelves, creating a rhythmic clanging that echoed through the entire store. I hid behind a row of toy shelves, gasping for air. His voice drifted from a distance as he prowled the aisles. "Kid, do you know why this damn store needs someone like me? It's not to clean up after messy children. It's because this place holds too many abandoned souls." Then he let out a chilling, delighted laugh. While he was distracted, I sneaked over to a different aisle, my eyes darting around for an exit. But every door was locked tight. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. I gave the operator my location as fast and clearly as possible. Before I could say another word, a scream from the man made me jump out of my skin. "Found you!" He laughed joyfully, holding the axe high and staring at me without blinking. "Do you want the Elsa doll or the teddy bear to hold your soul?" I swear my heart was about to explode. I started babbling nonsense while my brain tried to find a way out. "Sir, how long have you been doing this? Who hired you? Is it hard? It seems like such an important job." He froze. His dull eyes suddenly looked confused, and he slowly lowered the axe. His face became very serious, like an expert being interviewed. "You're right," he said pensively. "The first time I heard the memories calling was in 2003, at a different branch. The first soul I met was very strong," he continued, smiling to himself. I pushed down my terror and kept asking questions to buy time. "So, what do you do every day? Do you go on patrols?" He nodded and kept talking. I stopped listening and kept looking around, searching for a chance to bolt. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens cut through the air. He stopped talking immediately and frowned at me. "It looks like our time is almost up." I didn't waste a second. I lunged forward, grabbed the axe from his hand, and ran like hell. The police burst in just in time. They quickly tackled the man and pinned him down. They led me and Anthony outside, where an ambulance was already waiting. Later at the police station, they told me his name was Richard. He was 52 years old and a diagnosed schizophrenic who had recently finished a prison sentence for killing a teenager at a Walmart in Kansas years ago. No one knew how or when he had snuck into this Walmart. Anthony was lucky to survive because the wound missed his vital organs, but he had to stay in the hospital for over a month. We are still close, but we never talk about that night anymore. But in our memories, it's always there, a reminder of a terrible decision that almost cost us our lives.
In 2002, I was 15 years old. I lived with my dad in a safe neighborhood in a typical American college town. My mom passed away when I was young, so it was just the two of us. I was a good kid. I got decent grades and I had never touched a cigarette or a drink in my life. The idea of partying was foreign and a little intimidating to me. Even though I was shy, I had a huge crush on a boy at school. I was convinced he liked me back, and that crush gave me the motivation to change my look. I idolized the Spice Girls and loved their bold, confident style. In a moment of excitement, I used my savings to buy an outfit just like theirs, complete with massive platform shoes. I wanted to look trendy and more grown up. I had no idea that this outfit would be the start of a tragedy I would never forget. It all started very quietly. One afternoon, I came home from school and found a small folded note in my bicycle basket. The handwriting was messy. "I like your style, baby." At the time, I thought it was just a rude joke from a classmate, so I didn't think twice about it. I crumpled it up and threw it away. A few days later, another note appeared. "You're becoming a woman right before my eyes." With my naive teenage brain, I wasn't scared. Instead, I was convinced it was just an awkward way for a boy at school to flirt with me. To show I wasn't bothered, and to test my secret admirer, I started wearing that outfit even more often. I strutted around the neighborhood in my platforms, blasting "Wannabe" through my headphones, feeling totally cool. But then, the red flags started getting bigger. One morning, I woke up to find the beautiful flowers under my bedroom window had been violently trampled. Shortly after that, random small items started disappearing from inside our house. My dad was a cautious man, and he started to get nervous. He worried a predator or a thief was casing the house. He warned me over and over to be careful and to always turn on the security alarm when I was home alone. A few days later, my dad had to leave for a mandatory 2-day business trip. I was fine with being home alone, but he wasn't. Before he left, he double-checked every lock in the alarm system. He even asked our neighbor, Mr. Francis, a close family friend, to keep an eye on me. The first night was normal. Around 10 p.m., I hopped on my bike and rode 7 minutes to a friend's house to borrow a magazine. When I got back, I was shocked to find the front door wide open. The alarm, which I was positive I had set, was completely silent. My heart started racing. I stepped cautiously into the living room and froze. Mr. Francis was standing right there in the middle of the dark room. When he turned around, the heavy smell of alcohol hit me instantly. My gut told me I was in a very dangerous situation. The look in his eyes wasn't the kind neighbor I had known since I was a little girl. It was dark, hungry, and predatory. He pointed to a bottle of liquor on the table and said in a raspy voice, "Come have a drink with me." I shook my head and tried to say no. He started walking toward me, saying disgusting things. He told me I was a real woman now, and that he had been watching me for a long time. Even worse, he said the clothes I was wearing were an open invitation to men. "I'm a good guy. I'll be gentle with you," he said with a terrifying smirk. I backed away toward the front door, hoping to bolt outside, but he was faster. He reached out with his huge hands and grabbed my arm, yanking me back. He was so strong I almost collapsed. "Don't play hard to get, brat. Nobody likes a tease," he growled. As I struggled to get away, he laughed and started shaking me like a rag doll. I realized I was no match for a grown man who was drunk and out of his mind. If I kept fighting, he would just get more violent. I quickly came up with a plan. I tried to act like I was giving in. "Okay, I agree." He paused for a second and smiled triumphantly. He loosened his grip, stroked my hair in a sickening way, and dragged me toward the bedroom. I kept playing the part. When he threw me onto the bed, I was panicking, but I forced myself to finish the act. "Wait, you have to lock the front door and set the alarm. I don't want anyone to interrupt us." Thank God I thought of that. He fell for it. He pointed at me and ordered, "Don't you move," then turned and walked out. I didn't waste a second. I lunged for the bedroom door and locked it as fast as I could. Looking around, I realized I was in my dad's room, not mine. My room had a big window I could use to climb onto the garage roof, but my dad's room had no exit. Luckily, there was a landline phone on the nightstand. In my panic, I forgot the number for the police. The only number burned into my brain was my dad's work cell. By some miracle, he picked up immediately. I whispered through my tears, telling him what was happening. My dad stayed calm and used the second phone to call the local police. "Don't hang up, honey. I'm right here with you." His voice came through the receiver like a lifeline. Outside the door, Francis realized he'd been tricked. He started throwing himself against the door. I heard the screeching sound of metal. He was using a screwdriver to pry the lock open. "You're going to pay for that. I'll gut you like a fish if I get in there." The sound of him slamming against the wood made my heart feel like it was going to jump out of my chest. Every crack of the wood felt like death was getting closer. Just when I thought the door was going to give way, I heard a loud crash in the living room. The police had arrived. The sounds of the fight outside were horrific. Furniture being flipped, grunts, and the sounds of a struggle. I didn't dare open the door until the police confirmed it was safe. That event left a psychological scar that has never healed. A man I had trusted and cared for since I was a child had been plotting something disgusting against me. It created a wall in my heart that makes it hard for me to trust people even today. Mr. Francis's wife filed for divorce immediately after. She told me through tears that the real reason she had refused to have kids with him for decades was because she always felt something was off. She was afraid that children would never be safe under the same roof as him. A woman's intuition was right. She just couldn't stop the monster from showing his face sooner. Now, as I tell this story, Francis has passed away. I'm honestly glad he's gone. The world has one less evil person in it. I finally found a little bit of peace after all these years of being haunted. I met Marcus early last year. He was a skydiving instructor, which was the most unique job of anyone I'd ever known. Honestly, that's probably why I was so drawn to him from the start. Marcus was tall, had a great smile, and possessed that carefree vibe typical of people who spend more time in the clouds than on the ground. He spoke calmly and always looked you right in the eye. Our first date was at a small coffee shop. We sat near the window and talked for hours about his most memorable jumps, the feeling of fear, and the addiction to adrenaline. Before I met Marcus, I had actually gone skydiving a few times myself. I wasn't a total rookie, so when he talked about his job, I wasn't just listening with blind admiration. I could follow the conversation. That made everything feel much more natural. It wasn't just him trying to impress me. It felt like two people truly sharing the same passion. Our second date was dinner. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was enough to make me think I was entering a really exciting relationship. Marcus was as charming as ever. I started to think that maybe I had finally found the right guy. At the end of the second date, Marcus looked at me with an adventurous glint in his eyes. "Do you want to try a night jump? The feeling is completely different, and since I'm an instructor, it's on the house." I had never done a night jump before, but I said yes almost instantly. When I got home, I even texted my best friends to brag about dating a skydiving instructor and how I was going to get a free night jump next week. I liked him a lot more than I realized. The night of the jump, we went to a small airfield on the outskirts of the city. The wind was blowing, carrying the smell of fuel and metal. I put on my jumpsuit, strapped on my helmet, and checked my gear just like I had done in the past. Everything seemed normal and followed the standard procedure. The only difference was how dark it was and how cold the air felt. But there was also something in Marcus's eyes that I couldn't quite put my finger on. He was still smiling and talking, but every now and then, his gaze would go strangely empty, as if his mind was somewhere else entirely. For a tandem jump, I was strapped to the front of Marcus. My back was pressed against his chest, and the harness was pulled tight around my shoulders, hips, and thighs. But that night, I felt an unshakable sense of anxiety. The plane took off, vibrating slightly as we climbed. I looked down and saw nothing but a vast expanse of darkness. There was no clear horizon, no beautiful colors like during the day, just blackness and tiny dots of light. The romantic vibe of the night made me quiet for a moment. I even told myself I had made the right choice by coming here with him. The plane reached the jump altitude. The signal light turned on and the door slid open. The freezing wind rushed in, making me flinch. We shuffled toward the open door. I looked down into the pitch-black void and took a deep breath to steady my nerves. Marcus stood right behind me, his mouth close to my ear. I thought he was about to give me a countdown or a final reminder about my landing form. He didn't. Instead, his voice whispered into my ear, cold and flat enough to make my skin crawl. "I like you so much, Skylar. But I'm tired of living. I just cut the parachute cords, and I'm taking you down with me." My brain processed those words in less than a second. Then, Marcus lunged out of the plane. I didn't have time to scream or react. The wind began to roar, the air pressure slammed into my body, and the massive darkness swallowed everything. After a few seconds of free fall, I started screaming. My mind split into two paths. One part was total, pure panic. The other part was eerily calm, repeating the same thing over and over. The cords are cut. You're going to die. There's no way out. You're going to die. I looked down, and the speed of the fall combined with the night sky made me feel utterly hopeless. Time felt shattered. I might have been falling for about 30 seconds. I started to cry, imagining the final agonizing moment when my body would hit the ground. But then, the parachute deployed. There was a sudden, violent jerk upward and the loud sound of fabric inflating against the wind. I have never heard a more beautiful sound in my entire life. The frantic fall slowed down. We were floating. The ground was no longer rushing at us. It was approaching slowly and under control. I was gasping for air, my mind blank, my entire body shaking. From behind me, Marcus leaned in close to my ear again. His voice was completely different now, light, almost cheerful. Pretty intense, right? I didn't say a word. I just clenched my fists until they shook. Within 3 seconds of hitting the ground and being unbuckled from the harness, I turned around and slapped Marcus across the face with every bit of strength I had. He didn't see it coming, and I didn't care. That relationship ended right there on the landing strip. I didn't give him a single chance to explain. I walked away from that airfield with my hands trembling and my head spinning. But the story doesn't end there. Later, once I was calm enough to do some research and talk to experienced skydivers, I discovered another layer to what happened. Night jumping isn't for regular people. It's an activity reserved for extremely seasoned divers with specific certifications, specialized gear, and very strict safety protocols. Marcus was absolutely not allowed to take a civilian like me on that jump. I still don't know if Marcus was actually mentally unstable. I don't know if any part of what he said was true, or if it was all just a sick, twisted prank because he thought scaring someone to death was funny. To me, it doesn't matter, because for those 30 seconds in the air, I was 100% certain I was about to die. Even months later, I still wake up in the middle of the night. My heart races, and my hands feel ice cold. It takes me a few seconds to realize I'm safe in my own bed. I really did like Marcus. I'm still sad about how it all turned out. But regardless, it was a terrifying experience and a very expensive lesson on who to trust when starting a new relationship.
My name is Manny, and I am 31 years old. I have a small family that I cherish more than anything in this world. My wife and our baby girl, who just turned 10 months old. To have her, my wife and I went through a long and difficult IVF journey that cost us a fortune in both money and hope. Because of that, her safety isn't just a responsibility to us. It is a sacred mission. Our daughter's crib is always placed right next to our bed. If she even tosses or turns slightly, I wake up. During those first few months of parenthood, I almost never slept deeply. I was always in a half-awake state just to keep watch over her. Life went on like that, exhausting but peaceful, until one night when everything started to change. It was well past midnight. My wife and daughter were fast asleep. I was drifting off when I heard a very faint noise coming from the ceiling. It was a short, rustling sound, but it was enough to make me open my eyes. I lay perfectly still, staring at the ceiling and listening. No more sounds followed. I figured I had just imagined it and went back to sleep. But over the next few nights, the sound returned. Every time I was just about to fall asleep, I would hear that vague scratching overhead, like something was moving in the dark space between the ceiling and the roof. I thought it might be mice or birds nesting in the attic. It was annoying, but I wasn't truly worried yet. This went on for about a week, until that one night. I'm not sure what time I woke up, but it was still pitch black outside. My wife and baby were still sleeping. Just as I was about to roll over, the rustling sound happened again, much louder than before. By instinct, I looked toward my daughter's crib, and I froze. Through a small vent in the ceiling directly above her crib, a tiny beam of yellow light was shining straight down. I knew instantly it was a flashlight. The narrow beam stayed perfectly still, pointing right at where my daughter was lying. I sat up quickly. My heart was pounding, but I stayed quiet and just watched. A few seconds later, the light clicked off, and the noise in the attic vanished. The room went silent as if nothing had happened. I stayed awake until morning, never taking my eyes off my daughter. The next morning, I tried to find a logical explanation. My attic and my neighbor's attic share a crawl space. I thought maybe some light had leaked through from their side while they were fixing something. I chose to believe that theory. I went over and knocked on my neighbor's door. His name is Robert. He's in his 50s, a tall, quiet man. I asked him if he had been up in his attic the night before. He looked at me and shook his head. "Why would I be doing repairs at that hour?" he asked. His voice was completely calm. I felt awkward and a bit foolish, so I apologized and went home. That afternoon, I went up into my attic and installed a security camera. I pointed it directly at the partition wall that separates our two houses. I wanted to know exactly what was happening up there. My wife was confused, but I just gave her a vague explanation. That night, I slept in a state of high alert, keeping my hand on the edge of my daughter's crib. Early the next morning, the first thing I did was take the camera down to check the footage. For the first 20 minutes, it was just a dark, empty attic. Nothing unusual. Then I got to the footage from the middle of the night. The partition wall between the two attics was slowly pushed aside, moving at a very slow and careful pace. From the opening, a dark figure crawled out. I stopped breathing, my heart racing as I stared at the screen. It was a man, and he was crawling toward my side of the house. It was Robert. I bolted upright the second I recognized him. He was carrying a small power drill and a wooden plank. He laid the plank across the ceiling joists to create a temporary bed, and then he lay down on it. Directly underneath that spot was my daughter's crib. Then, he used the drill to make a hole through my ceiling. He was using a quiet, low-noise model. Once he was done, Robert leaned down, pressed his eye against the hole he had just made, and lay perfectly still. He stayed there for 30 minutes without moving, just staring through that hole, looking straight down at my sleeping daughter. I watched the video, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. I called my wife and told her everything. When she heard the story, she burst into tears. I called the police, explained the entire situation, and handed over the video clip as undeniable evidence. After they watched the footage, they arrested him immediately. By noon that day, Robert was taken away in handcuffs. After the investigation, he was convicted of trespassing. He received 5 years of probation and was ordered to pay my family $2,245 in damages. From beginning to end, Robert kept a terrifyingly calm expression, the same one he had when I questioned him that morning. The local news ran the story, and the neighborhood was buzzing for a while before things finally settled down. For my family, no sentence or payment could ever erase the feeling of horror and helplessness we felt watching that video. For 30 minutes in the dead of night, a man was lying right above my daughter's head, silently watching her sleep while I had absolutely no idea. We decided to move shortly after that. We found a house that is more isolated, with very few neighbors around. It's quieter there, and I feel like I can control my environment better. But I still carry a different kind of worry. Eventually, my daughter will grow up. She'll have to go to school, make friends, and step out into a big world where I can't always stand in front of her. I can change houses and environments, but I can't lock her away from society forever. I want her to grow up normally, to fit in and believe in the goodness of the world. It's just that ever since that night, I've been haunted and overprotective. I know I'm being too careful, and I'm trying my best to work on it.
I'm Elaine, 32 years old. and a busy single mother with a 7-year-old daughter, Mia. I'm happy with my current life. My career is on the rise, so I'm very busy. But financially, I'm comfortable. Mia is a well-behaved, thoughtful, and incredibly warm-hearted little girl. I plan to work hard for another 7 or 10 years, and then retire early to live a happy life with my daughter. I know Mia feels sad because she doesn't get much attention from me, but she has never complained or blamed me. She always gets high grades, behaves appropriately, and takes care of herself without me needing to remind her. Thank you, Mia. Thank you for being there and walking this journey with me. I hugged my daughter tightly and broke down in tears. I've really missed you so much, I whispered. Mom, I'm still here, Mia asked, causing me to startle. What I mean is, I really miss you when I'm at work. My daughter and I don't sleep apart. Having her by my side makes me feel more at ease and helps me sleep much better. One morning, on the way to take Mia to school, I gave her $50. Sweetheart, I have a late meeting today, so I won't be able to make dinner like I promised. I'm sorry. Mia looked at me and smiled softly. This is money for my dinner, right, Mom? She took the money. I'll go to Chick-fil-A and I'll invite my friends to join me. I'll wait for you to come there. Chick-fil-A, I muttered, stunned. Remember what I told you and call me if anything comes up, I reminded my daughter before saying goodbye at the school gate. Mia also likes Chick-fil-A, which makes me feel closer to her and love her even more. That evening, I picked up Mia at 9 o'clock, by which time the store was about to close. I'm so sorry. You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? It's okay. I had a great time. My little girl always smiles like that. Who did you have dinner with? Bethany or Santa? Those two didn't come, Mom. I made a new friend. She's very beautiful. Is that so? She had eyes like you, Mom. I smiled at Mia. What's your new friend's name? She didn't introduce herself, and I forgot to ask. But she promised she would visit me next time. Seeing my daughter's happiness made me feel more at ease as well. The next morning, I had plenty of time, so I cooked breakfast for Mia. As I was preparing a little salad, I heard my daughter talking. Do you like this egg dish too? My mom cooks it really well, right? Mia, I called my daughter. Who are you talking to? Carrying the plate of salad to the dining table, I saw my daughter sitting alone. My friend. She said the eggs you made are really delicious. Your friend? Where is she? Why did she come to our house so early? I asked, quite puzzled. She just left, Mom, Mia said cheerfully, then continued eating her breakfast. I didn't ask her any more questions, quickly finished my meal and got ready to go to work. But gradually, I realized that the friend Mia was talking about was someone only she could perceive. One day when I picked Mia up from school, her teacher kindly asked to speak with me privately. Mia has been showing signs of distraction lately. She doesn't focus and often talks to herself, just so you know. I was very surprised. I looked over at Mia, who was waiting in the distance. She was indeed smiling and laughing, but she was all alone. I thanked the teacher and promised to keep a closer eye on Mia's situation. I didn't rush to ask Mia, but silently observed her instead. In the evening, when I returned to the bedroom, Mia was sitting on the bed with a few dolls. She held one up, smiled, and whispered, Do you like it? I tapped lightly on the door so I wouldn't startle her. Aren't you asleep yet? Mom, she's here. She said she wants to visit you. I shuddered, froze in place, and quickly glanced around the room. Mia, what are you talking about? She's here. Mia jumped up and pointed towards me. Right next to you. Mia, stop it right now, I shouted, feeling panicked and raising my voice a little. After a few seconds to calm down, I gently asked, What's her name, Mia? Her name is Mia too. She looks just like you, Mom. I went silent, and after a few minutes of trying to calm myself, I helped Mia get ready for bed. After Mia had fallen into a deep sleep, I rushed to the closet, grabbed the Ouija board, and asked myself, Mia is still in this house, right? The answer left me stunned, and I burst into tears. So my daughter has still existed all this time. She is the Mia I gave birth to, but lost when she was 5. The girl I have now, with a name and appearance so similar, I have adopted as my daughter. I hugged myself tightly, a mix of longing and pain flooding over me, unsure if I was strong enough to face this truth. But now, I know I must protect and love both children, the one in my heart and the one in my arms. My name is Charles, 29 years old. My wife Maddie and I have been married for over 4 years, and she's exactly the kind of person I was looking for, beautiful and independent. Throughout the years we've been together, we have never had any loud arguments. One evening, I came home after a stressful day at work with a new project. As soon as I stepped through the door, the smell of food made my heart skip a beat. Maddie, I'm home. What is that delicious smell, darling? I quickly threw my coat and briefcase onto the sofa and rushed into the kitchen. Kebab, awesome. Can you believe it? I was just thinking about it this afternoon. I was like a child excited to finally eat my favorite dish. Maddie smiled at me, holding out the dessert. I'm glad you like it. Let's dig in. The fatigue from a long day quickly disappeared. From that day on, Maddie gradually increased the frequency of making kebab for me, first once a week, then every day. Maddie, I'm about to get sick of the smell of this dish. Eating so much grilled food isn't good for you, you know. And how do you still have time to prepare this meal? Maddie looked at me with a somewhat awkward expression. Because it's your favorite dish. I really like it, but that was just a few weeks ago, darling. The next day, on my way home from work, I passed by a food truck selling fast food. A second later, I was startled and looked back in the rearview mirror. It was Maddie, and she seemed friendly and happy with the owner of the food truck. At that moment, I was just a bit curious, but I didn't suspect anything, and soon after, I forgot about it. One day when I got home from work, I saw Maddie watching TV in the living room. I hurried over and hugged her from behind. I'm home, sweetheart. Maddie wrapped her arms around mine and smiled lightly. Maddie, why? I leaned down to sniff her shirt. Why do you smell like kebab? My wife stood up quickly. Oh, I just went out to eat with Kaylee. Does the smell cling that much? Let me go change, and then we can go out for dinner. Seeing Maddie's awkwardness, I couldn't help but feel curious. On the way to the restaurant, I asked her again. You had plans with me, yet you still went out to eat with Kaylee? What's going on? Does the restaurant we're going to have tiramisu on the dessert menu? Maddie immediately interrupted and changed the subject, not even looking me in the eye. I decided not to bring it up again for the moment, but I was sure Maddie was hiding something. As time went on, she became more distant and avoided making eye contact with me. There were no more joyful dinners, laughter, or words of affection. Maddie even spent a few nights out, and according to her, she stayed at Kaylee's house, and it happened more often. The second time I caught Maddie at the food truck, she wasn't just talking. She even followed the owner into the truck. I was frozen, coming up with hundreds of questions and then answering them in every possible way, just to hold on to a bit of hope. When I got home, I waited for Maddie to return so we could have a clear conversation. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours passed, and she still hadn't come home. When I called, the phone went straight to voicemail. At that moment, I couldn't stay calm anymore. My mind was filled with all sorts of terrifying images. After waiting another 2 hours, my patience was completely gone. I rushed out of the house and ran to where the food truck had been, but it was gone. Like a madman, I ran up and down the street searching for the truck, calling Maddie hundreds of times, but I still couldn't reach her. I blamed myself for being so foolish, for leaving instead of confronting the situation and clearing things up right then and there. I was overwhelmed by despair, collapsed on the street, and before I knew it, the sky had already turned to dawn. The truck reappeared and parked in its usual spot on the street. I stumbled towards it, repeatedly shouting Maddie's name. "The food isn't ready to be served yet, sir," the owner of the truck said, smiling faintly. I rushed forward, grabbing his shirt tightly, and yelled, "Where is Maddie? Where is she?" But that bastard just looked at me and smiled without answering. "Maddie! Maddie! Where are you?" I searched for her, thinking there might be a secret room inside the truck. The owner of the truck didn't stop me, didn't shout at me. He just stood there, watching my every move, and smiled. In the kitchen area, I found jewelry and clothes that I was certain belonged to Maddie. The feeling of betrayal clouded my mind, and I couldn't control my actions. I rushed over and punched that bastard in the face. He laughed even harder when I did that. Exhausted and with my hands covered in red, I left in utter despair. For the next 3 days, Maddie disappeared, and I couldn't get in touch with her. I'd reported to the police, and an investigation was launched with a search team looking for Maddie, while other officers kept a 24/7 watch on the truck owner. He continued to sell food with a bruised face as if nothing had happened, and there were no suspicious actions from him. My testimony, along with Maddie's belongings found in the kitchen, wasn't enough to convict him. How could a normal person disappear so mysteriously, leaving no trace or clues behind? Nearly a month after Maddie disappeared, that morning when the news broadcast reported, "A serious food poisoning incident occurred with 28 people in Coral Gables, Miami. After being admitted to the hospital for treatment, all 28 individuals were diagnosed by doctors with blood parasitic infections. After testing the leftover food in their stomachs, the doctors were shocked to report the food they consumed contained human DNA. After gathering information from the patients and their families, they all stated that they had eaten kebab from a food truck on the street. About a month ago, at the same food truck, the mysterious disappearance of the young woman named Maddie occurred." I'm Lewis, 37, working in medical aesthetics. I've got 2 spots, one in Dallas and one in Houston, Texas. So this story isn't about me. It's about a friend who works in the same field, and yeah, I kinda had a hand in that whole mess. My friend Joey, straight up the most naturally gorgeous person I've ever met. Joey's 2 years younger than me. His parents wanted him to be a lawyer, but he bailed on that and jumped into construction on his own. He's doing pretty great, making bank off big and small construction gigs. No doubt, Joey's good looks have totally helped him land those deals. Construction work's tough with all the sun, wind, and dust, but it doesn't mess with Joey's looks. If anything, it makes him even tougher and more good-looking. The cash he's making isn't enough to keep up with his wild nights at bars and clubs. With his all-over-the-place attitude, Joey up and quit his construction gig again. "I'm over that exhausting job. I want good money, but with less hassle and a cleaner, comfier setup." Joey asked me to teach him about the beauty biz. "I'll hook you up with some courses." Joey cut me off and goes, "No need to waste time. I'll just come to your clinic to learn." After a lot of convincing, I finally agreed to let Joey start with some basic stuff. Joey's pretty sharp, so it didn't take him long to catch on and pick things up. It took Joey like 3 days to get the hang of waxing and hair removal. With his looks, Joey helped me pull in a ton more customers. "Louis, I'm opening my own cosmetic clinic next month." Joey dropped that bomb on me, and I was totally shocked. "But you..." "Watching you work," Joey shrugged. "It's easy. Cosmetic surgery is not as hard as I thought." Even though I tried to talk him out of it, Joey's confidence just kept growing. Less than a month later, Joey's cosmetic clinic was all set up and running. Joey straight up crushed it again in the new field. Joey's making crazy money selling the whole responsibility and reputation thing in the beauty industry. But slowly, Joey's customers started complaining about the service. Joey fixed it by shutting down the shop, moving to a new spot, and pulling in a whole new crowd. With that slick business move, Joey's beauty spots just kept opening and closing, running at full speed the whole time. He just straight up bought a big villa without even thinking about it. That was the only thing left, since Joey blew all his savings on his crazy lifestyle. On top of doing unlicensed cosmetic surgery, Joey also went all in, taking on cases that needed real medical know-how. And then things got way worse than just some allergies or complications. One afternoon, I got a call from Joey. As soon as I picked up, I was freaked out by a girl's scream, like she was in pain. Louis, what do I do about this allergy thing?" Joey yelled into the phone. Before I could even respond, the girl's moans got louder. I heard medical stuff breaking, and Joey was screaming and cursing. "Joey, what the heck did you do? What's the client's situation right now?" I gave her anesthesia. She was twitching with her mouth wide open. Oh my God, stop it." Then the call just cut off. I called a few more times, but Joey didn't pick up, and the same thing happened the next few days. A few days later, the news came out about a girl named Cassie going missing. The police looked into her recent stuff and found out she'd booked an appointment for black hairy tongue treatment at Joey's clinic. Feeling like something was really wrong, I called Joey right away, but he still didn't pick up. 6 days after they announced Cassie was missing, the cops found a suitcase in the basement of the villa with her body in it. The villa owner? Yup, it was Joey again. Joey sold the villa cheap because it was falling apart, all to cover his out-of-control spending. After selling the villa, Joey also hid the suitcase with Cassie's body in the basement. At the trial, he admitted guilt and said he'd been hammered on booze and drugs while treating Cassie, and that's what caused the accident. I really wish I hadn't asked for help from someone so reckless and messed up. This story is based on a real event, the tragic cosmetic accident of Maria Pilar Cruz that took place in 2003 in New York. Maria, dealing with black hairy tongue, made the mistake of choosing a cosmetic clinic instead of going to a hospital for proper treatment. Then, Maria's life came to an end at the hands of Dean Fajilo, a self-proclaimed cosmetic doctor who started out just doing basic hair removal. Dean's perfect looks and sharp mind were his weapons, helping him trick countless customers into trusting his so-called cosmetic expertise. Behind that flawless appearance was an empty soul, long corrupted by alcohol and illegal substances. I'm Francis, 40, and I fly for the Air Force. My wife Sophie, she's 35, does freelance online stuff and handles the house too. We've got a 6-year-old daughter. Being an Air Force pilot's way less stressful and dangerous than dealing with my own crazy wife. Last year, I was stationed in Germany for a bit. Since I wanted us all to stick together, I brought my wife and kid along. At first, being in a new country felt weird, but things settled down pretty quick. It's also a chance for my wife and kid to soak up the life and culture in a beautiful country. I'm into coffee. Not like addicted or anything, but especially the stuff I make myself. I'm all about Starbucks Pike Place Roast. Every night, I brewed some coffee so it's all set for the morning. I've had that habit since I first started working, and I've kept it up. Lately, the coffee I've been drinking tastes kind of weird. Still coffee, but with this floral hint, and sometimes it's got this sharp, gross taste. Sophie, my coffee tastes weird. Try it. I handed her the cup, kind of confused. Sophie just sniffed it and was like, "What's the deal, hon? This coffee smells great." She handed the coffee back to me and went on making breakfast for our daughter. I didn't think much of it, just took another sip and went to work. But that weird taste started bugging me more and more, messing with my stomach and nerves. "What are you doing?" Sophie asked when she saw me, just standing there staring at the coffee package. I checked the ingredients and the expiration date. Everything's good, but the taste is off. I think I need to switch the coffee. My wife nodded and left while I made the coffee. The next morning, Sophie handed me the coffee and fixed my uniform. "Why aren't you drinking it? Just staring at it." I'm wondering why it's got so much foam." "Alright, it's fine." Sophie gently pushed the coffee towards me. "Have a good day at work." She kissed me on the cheek after I finished. The strong taste that stuck in my mouth after the coffee had me feeling off all day. That night I grabbed some chlorine test strips because I thought the water might be contaminated. The test showed the water was totally fine, which just left me even more confused. Thanks to my military training, I always stay alert and keep cool no matter what. Someone's gotta be messing with this. I bought a camera, the tiniest kind, set it up in the kitchen, and quickly figured out what was going on. Sophie was putting something in my coffee maker. I just kept an eye on Sophie through the camera for a few more days, not making a big deal out of it or anything. She opened the kitchen drawer, then the coffee maker, and all of it took less than 20 seconds. That night, I went home and filmed the whole process of testing the water with the chlorine strips. The water from the faucet was totally fine, but the water in the coffee maker, it turned purple right away. I was stunned for a few minutes, just feeling all sorts of things I can't even describe. For what? Did I make a mistake or something? Over the next few days, I kept pretending to drink the coffee just to keep recording Sophie's sneaky moves. Her sweet talk and all that fake caring stuff gave me the chills. Behind that sweet, warm smile, there was the look of a devil every time she saw me happily grab my coffee to head to work. I couldn't even eat the fancy meals she made, always feeling sick thinking if I was swallowing some kind of poison. But I kept telling myself to stay calm. Over a month later, I brought my wife and kid back to the US since my military service was ending. And that's when I decided it was time to call the police. I gave them all the camera footage as proof, but the police couldn't figure out what Sophie had put in the coffee maker. I had to step it up and buy more cameras, setting them up in the kitchen, laundry room, and other spots to get more evidence. Sophie's coffee recipe didn't take long to figure out. She went to the laundry room, grabbed some detergent, and poured it into my coffee maker. When I got home, I filmed myself cleaning the coffee maker for the 8th time, and there were still a ton of detergent bubbles floating up. I used the chlorine test strip again. Still purple. So I called the police, and this time, Sophie got arrested. After 9 years with my wife, I said goodbye, feeling pretty bitter about it. In 9 years, what did I do to deserve this from you? Is something missing in your life now, Sophie? We're done here. This story is based on a real case that went down in 2023. At the time of the incident, U.S. Air Force pilot Robbie was stationed in Germany with his wife and kid while serving in the military. All because she wanted to cash in on the life insurance Robbie's wife Melody was willing to poison him. Melody had a dark plan. By slipping detergent into Robbie's coffee, she aimed to slowly poison him without leaving a trace. But with his military training, Robbie sensed something was off and set up hidden cameras all around the house. And in the end, the truth came to light. I'm Cecilia, 32, happily married with a husband and a 6-year-old. On my way to grab my kid from school, he was all pumped up seeing the streetlights for the biggest holiday of the year. But for me, the scariest time of year is coming up. Christmas, 25 years ago. I was the same age my kid is now. That day was Christmas, my 6th birthday, and the day I lost it all. I also had a happy family with my folks and my brother. We lived in Miles City, Runnels County, Texas. That Christmas night, I couldn't sleep at all. My mother told me that I was a special child, that Santa would give me Christmas presents and birthday presents. My mom told me I was a special kid, that Santa would hook me up with Christmas and birthday presents. Out of nowhere, I heard a noise from the roof. I straight up jumped up and ran to my parents' room. "Dad, Mom, Santa's here. I hear footsteps on the roof." Mom put the book down, looked at me, gave me a little smile, and then took me to my room. "Honey, Santa will bring you presents if you go to bed on time. Deal?" I nodded at Mom, jumped into bed, threw the blanket over me, and shut my eyes. Then I remembered something and quickly told my mom, "Mom, don't forget to leave chocolate milk and cookies out for Santa when he drops off the gifts." Mom laughed, patted my head, and nodded. When Mom left, I hesitated for a sec, then jumped out of bed, tiptoed to the stairs, and peeked down. Yep, Mom had left cookies and milk on the dining table. As Mom walked past the front door, she reached out to lock it and yelled at Dad for being careless. Before Mom went upstairs, I had enough time to dash into my room and hop back in bed. I laid in bed for a bit, but I couldn't sleep. The noise just kept getting louder and louder. I totally forgot what Mom said, so I left my room again, went to the stairs, and peeked down at the living room. The dark figure just vanished, heading to the dining room. It was someone every kid in the world knows and waits for. Santa Claus. I ran to my brother's room, trying to wake him up. Jeffrey, Santa's in the kitchen. Wake up." My brother was still out cold, so not wanting to miss Santa, I rushed downstairs. As soon as I got close to the living room, Santa was standing by the tree, getting ready to pull a gift out of his bag. But nope. It was a tool for chopping wood. I knew, because my dad had shown it to me once. The thing Santa was holding was different. It was red and long. He slung it over his shoulder, gave a little smile, and slowly turned around. My excitement quickly turned into nerves. I just froze, because this Santa was way different from what I imagined. His laugh freaked me out, so I quickly ducked behind the stairs before he walked by. Back then, being an innocent 6-year-old, I just stood there watching, not knowing I'd just come face to face with the devil. He headed up to my brother's room. After a few seconds, I heard sounds I couldn't even explain back then. I just stood there, stunned. But later, I realized it was the sound of something brutal. It was the sticky sound, Santa's creepy laugh, and the sound of liquid dripping and splashing everywhere. Santa walked out, and I could see his face. It was so weird. No long white beard, just a pale face, black lips and eyes, and a big creepy smile, and a long, pointy nose with a black dot at the tip. No gift bag, just him humming with a creepy smile, walking around still holding that wood-cutting tool, dripping red stuff everywhere. He went into his parents' room, and then I heard my dad let out a weak scream for a sec. Then that sticky sound came back, and this time it was way clearer. Then my mom screamed, and I'd never heard her scream that loud before. Jeffrey! My mom yelled my brother's name, but didn't call mine. Jeffrey! She busted open my brother's door, then screamed like she was in pain and totally freaked out. Mom was followed by Santa, and his arms, his face, everything was just covered in red. Mom was about to head to my room, but then switched directions and ran downstairs. At that moment, I was thinking, didn't Mom remember me? Didn't she care where I was? As soon as Mom got close to me, Santa swung the axe at her back. I saw the whole thing, every single hit. Mom's screams and last words were just her calling out my brother's name. My heart was racing, and I barely had time to turn around and run for the kitchen. I didn't think twice, just yanked open the cupboard, crawled in, and tried to stay as quiet as possible, shaking while I heard footsteps getting closer. I peeked through the crack in the cupboard door and saw Santa happily munching on cookies and sipping milk. He was sucking on his bright red fingers, looking all refreshed and grinning like he was loving it. After he finished the cookies and milk, he washed the plate and cup, then left with a creepy laugh. The next day, my grandma found me, and there were a bunch of police at the house. Grandma hugged me so tight, I could feel her holding back tears. Thank God for protecting my Cecilia. On the wall next to the Christmas tree, I spelled out each letter in bright red. SANTACLOWN. It's been 25 years, and they still haven't figured out who that Santa was. I get why my mom went into the room, and why she only called my brother's name. In that moment, my mom wanted Santa to think there was only one kid in the house, my brother. I was scared of the color red, scared of that guy in the red suit and black boots, scared of the noises at night, the footsteps, the sound of running water. I've never been able to forget or shake off the terror of that night.
Thank you for watching until the end. As mentioned earlier, our goal of reaching 50,000 subscribers in 2026 is still ongoing. If you enjoy these stories, please give us a hand and support us.